I've been using the Google Pixel 10 Pro Fold for a little over 2 weeks now, and while this is easily Google's most refined foldable yet, it still feels like a device trying to balance two worlds, the productivity-driven tablet and the practical everyday phone. And depending on what kind of user you are, that might either be a dream come true or a reminder of why foldables still aren't mainstream. Let's kick it off with the design and build quality. Let's get this out of the way from the start. The Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 is thinner, sleeker, and looks at least a generation ahead of what Pixel is doing with its foldable. Now, that doesn't mean that the Pixel 10 Pro Fold looks bad. On the contrary, I think it's a great looking phone, but no matter if you are a die-hard Pixel fan or not, guys, the Z Fold 7 just looks a whole lot better. Regardless, I genuinely like how this phone looks, even though I'm not a huge fan of the design of the camera module, but everything feels classic Pixel and clean, lots of matte textures around the whole entire phone, so it hides fingerprints very well, and I'm okay with it being a little bit thicker than Z Fold 7. One thing I would have liked to have seen is a matte hinge. The shiny hinge picks up grease and fingerprints and makes this phone slippier than it should be. Another thing I don't love is the weight. This thing feels hefty in the hand, coming in at 258 grams, at least on paper. Some people equate heaviness with how premium something feels, but I much prefer a lighter device. And unfolding it, since that's why you buy a foldable device, you get an incredibly thin form factor at just 5.2 millimeters, and yeah, it looks great and folds all the way flat. I am still not over how fun it is to unfold this thing. It never gets old. One thing to note is that the crease didn't get any less noticeable, but trust me, as a longtime foldable user, people make this a much bigger deal than it really is. When I unfold the device, I simply don't notice it enough to bug me. With that said though, I do wish we saw some kind of improvement just for the sake of improvement, and for the colors you get two options, and luckily both look incredible. You can pick it up in Jade, which is what I picked for my Google Pixel 10 Pro XL, and Moonstone, which is what I picked for my Fold. And wow, I mean, just look at it. It's like it's both gray and grayish blue depending on the lighting. Bottom line, everything feels extremely premium and well built. And one subtle but significant improvement is the hinge. It's slimmer and more durable. Now, this seems like a subtle improvement, but look at the hinge of this device and compare it to the previous generations. I am telling you that the minor difference improves the feel in the hand significantly. It was one of my main complaints about the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. It just felt chunky. Now this thing feels comfortable, and while it might be a couple generations late, it looks more like my OnePlus Open. And it's not all visual improvements. It has a new gearless hinge design which feels smoother, tighter, and has this perfectly dampened resistance that feels just right when you're opening or closing the device. It's subtle, but it's one of those things that you instantly appreciate after a few days of use. And for a feature that most people are glossing over, and one I would even consider a legitimate reason to get this phone over the Z Fold 7, is we finally have a foldable with true flagship water and dust resistance. People might not consider this a big deal, but it really is. Have you ever looked up what the IP ratings actually mean? Let's take a look at the Z Fold 7's IP rating of IP48. The 4 means that the phone is protected from solid objects larger than 1 millimeter. The 8 indicates resistance to immersion in fresh water up to 1.5 meters deep for 30 minutes, which is something that we've had since the Z Fold 6. The Pixel 10 Pro Fold has an IP68 rating. That means we get the same rating against water immersion because of the 8, but the number 6 in front of it signifies complete protection against dust and other small particles. Dust and small particles are the major reason why foldable phones may experience critical failure, as they can get into the hinge and under the screen, causing damage to the flexible display and affecting the hinge's function. So even though we're going to have to see how this holds up over several years of use, the IP68 rating could potentially be the most important upgrade in a foldable phone ever, and the Pixel 10 Pro Fold is the first foldable to do this. I think people are vastly underestimating this important feature. But let's talk about the real reason why you'd even consider a foldable phone in the first place: the screen. For the outer, you get a 6.4-inch cover display that is not too wide and not too tall. It feels very comfortable to use one-handed, especially because of the slimmer hinge design that we've already talked about. It's 120Hz, which is good and expected, but it is not LTPO OLED, so your screen will only flip-flop between 60Hz and 120Hz to conserve battery life. I think for the price, we should have gotten full adaptive refresh rate between 1Hz and 120Hz, like we get on the Z Fold 7. The good news, however, is that the screen gets up to 3000 nits of peak brightness, which is great and completely usable outdoors in my bright Florida sun. And when you open this up, you get an 8-inch LTPO OLED panel, and it just looks incredible. It's sharp, fluid at 120Hz, and it also has the same peak brightness of 3000 nits, which is actually brighter than last year's model by 300 nits. HDR10 Plus support makes watching Netflix or YouTube incredible, and I love using this to play emulators and streaming through Xbox Game Pass. This to me is why you buy a foldable. It's like a gaming tablet that you can keep in your pocket at all times. It's so freaking cool and it never gets old. Even just using the cover display for gaming is just as good as a normal slab phone. And you can enjoy gaming even longer now because you now get a 5000 15 mAh battery, which is a significant improvement from last year. I'm easily getting 7 hours of screen on time on average, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. I would say that I use the cover display 70% of the time, and the other 30% I use the inner display. I'm primarily using it to play games and watch content, but with that said, I generally use my phone to take phone calls, text family and friends, listen to music for long periods of time, take photos and some video, watch YouTube, subscribe for more by the way, and like I mentioned, playing video games. Also, the charging speed got an upgrade to 30 watts wired, which is supposed to get you about 50% in 30 minutes, and 15 watts wireless, now supporting Qi 2 magnetic charging, finally bringing MagSafe-like accessories to Android. Yes, this is essentially the same as MagSafe. Just look at the hardware of it under the special paper, but they're calling it Pixel Snap, and I absolutely love this feature. For someone who doesn't use a case like me, this is an absolute game changer and one I seriously hope Samsung adds to the S26 Ultra in January. And as we all know by now, the Pixel 10 Pro XL speakers are absolutely incredible, and let's put them up against the Pixel 10 Pro Fold to see if there's any significant difference. And because a lot of you appreciate that this test is in all of my videos, let's talk about the haptic feedback. How does this phone compare to the Pixel 10 Pro XL? And for the performance, you knew this was coming. It's a Pixel device with a Tensor chip, the Tensor G5 to be exact. Translation, it looks pretty weak or even super weak on paper, but it's really, really good with regular use. I can understand both sides of the argument on this. Some people want the raw performance of something like the S25 Ultra or even the iPhone 17 Pro Max. I think this is fair, especially at this price point. This is not a cheap phone, and it should have the best performance out there. However, on the other hand, mainly with the Pixel enthusiasts, they just don't care about benchmarks because as long as the phone is quick and fluid in real life, Well, who cares what the paper says? And as much as I agree with both of these points, I bought this phone for $2,000. I think at a bare minimum, I should be getting the best chip in this device. With that said, yeah, this thing is a classic Pixel. Apps open relatively quickly, RAM management does a good job keeping apps open since it has 16 gigabytes of RAM, and the overall use is extremely fluid. It's clear that the hardware and the software here work very well together, and even after gaming for a good hour or so, I never noticed this phone getting hot. I know some of you coming from older Pixel devices might be concerned with that, but I haven't noticed any major overheating ever since the release of the 9 series with the Google Tensor G4. Now, let's get into the camera. It's good, but I wish we had some more hardware upgrades. You get a 48 megapixel main camera, a 10.8 megapixel 5x telephoto, and a 10.5 megapixel ultra wide. Photos from the main 48 megapixel camera look pretty good. I could tell that my Pixel 10 Pro XL takes better photos, but it's not a huge difference. All photos look vibrant, detailed, and have that classic Pixel HDR look that I personally love. It doesn't matter if you are outdoors and decent to good lighting, or indoors, you're going to get great photos regardless that this is not going to be a big improvement over the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. The 10.8 megapixel 5x telephoto did a better job than I was expecting, and detail was clear, colors were consistent with the main camera. Just don't go past 5x zoom because the digital zoom is still digital quality. Regardless of all the cool software tricks, you are going to lose a decent amount of detail. And the 10.5 megapixel ultra wide is still just as good as last year, but loses more detail than I would have liked in low lighting conditions. And selfies look decent with the front facing camera, but I mean, it's a foldable. Use the foldable selfie trick to take selfies with the main sensor. And for the video, it's good, but it's still not on Apple's level. Go check out my review of the iPhone 17 Pro Max, by the way, that I did last week. A lot of people really seem to like it. There's some stutter with switching between lenses that I just can't understand how Google hasn't fixed. This is an old issue, and I really hope they fix it with the next generation or with the software update. Where I can have a lot of complaints is the software. Now, that doesn't mean it's perfect because I do have a few critiques, but all in all, I still really like the Pixel perspective on what good software should be. I'm running Android 16 on my device, and I haven't experienced any kind of bugs. I still love that the Pixel devices get 7 years of software and security support, and I'm hoping that with the IP68 rating that we've already talked about, that the hardware can last over 7 years without any issues. You get Material 3 Expressive, and it's elegant, light on its feet, fast, and fluid. Pixel software is simply enjoyable to use, and I love that I can get my Pixel software in a foldable form factor. I really like the subtle details, like the way the notifications just ever so softly change shape and bounce when you swipe them away, or the way that the music tracker squiggles when it's playing. I also love the taskbar and being able to quickly multitask, which I do a lot on my foldables, of course. And for the Material 3 Expressive, don't get me wrong, it's not all bad, but I do have a few complaints. There's a couple of subtle details that are still just not looking very good in my opinion, especially when using the stopwatch or alarms. It does have some cool lock screen tricks though, so for that it's very good. But luckily where Pixel strives is the AI and exclusive Pixel features. First, a feature that has a lot of potential but still isn't as useful as I had hoped, Magic Q. I have tried to use this on my Pixel 10 Pro XL, Pixel 10, and now the Pixel 10 Pro Fold, and I can assure you that it hasn't gotten any better. Sure, it would pop up every now and then when opening a certain text message, but the information was rarely useful or sometimes not even accurate, or it was just quicker for me to reply manually rather than double check the AI. Now, this doesn't mean that I don't like it. On the contrary, the promise of what Magic Q is supposed to be is incredible. It is supposed to connect information across apps and present helpful suggestions that capture the context of the information on your screen. It can pull flight details during a call, a restaurant address for a place you reserved, or even Google Maps locations of a planned event. It's just not there yet. But one that I could definitely see myself using is Voice Translate. This feature takes the tone of your voice and translates it into another language during a phone call in real time. It's not perfect, but it is way better than I expected.
Call is translated by Google AI. In each speaker's voice, audio is not saved.
Hey, how are you?
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, estoy muy bien, ¿y tú? Hello, I'm doing very well, and you?
I'm doing great. We should go and get something to eat
Muy
later.
bien. Deberíamos ir a buscar algo para comer más tarde.
Sí, me parece bien, porque tengo hambre. Yes, I think so, because I am hungry.
Cool. What time works for you?
Genial, ¿qué hora te funciona?
Como en media hora, like in half an hour.
Okay, sounds like a plan. I'll see you then.
De acuerdo, suena como un plan. Nos vemos entonces.
Okay, ciao. Okay, bye.
Bye. And another useful feature that I have used a few more times than I would like to admit is Camera Coach. Listen, I'm no photographer, and this is a live AI feature that you can use with your camera. All you have to do is hit this button right here, and it suggests framing tips, what level of zoom to use, other things in the perceived scenario that you're trying to capture. It made me truly think differently when taking photos, and I believe it's helped me take more thoughtful photos instead of just snapping at random, which is basically what I tend to do. So should you buy a Pixel 10 Pro Fold? If you have a Pixel 9 Pro Fold, I would say absolutely no, unless you're just swimming in money. If you're still rocking the original Pixel Fold and you're looking to upgrade, then just go buy it already. It's well worth your money. You get the same super useful Pixel experience, smooth multitasking, the best IP rating in any foldable available right now, a significantly improved battery capacity, many years of software support, and just a super fun phone, and unfolding it never gets old. Just keep in mind that it's insanely expensive, but Google normally offers deals, especially around Black Friday time, so keep an eye out for a better price. If this video helped you, please hit that like button down below and subscribe for more if you like what I do. Also, hit that new hype feature down below to help this video get to new viewers, and I will see all of you next time.